Hi. So I'm gonna tell the story of how I hit my head, how I became brain injured, how this whole situation happened. Because a lot of people ask me, and instead of telling the story 1,012 times, I'd rather just like send a link. It's easier for me. And also, if I saw someone I followed or someone on my page, like something crazy happened to them, I want to know what happened. Like, I'm nosy. I'm a nosy little bitch. So if you are nosy, this is also for you. And I'm not shading you, not being like nosy people. No, I support nosy people. I am one of them. So I'm gonna tell the story. I'm gonna tell it in two parts because I get really fatigued and I get really tired. So I can only really do so much at a time. This part is gonna be like what actually happened, like the injury itself, like the accident. And then part two is going to be kind of how this turned into a final destination, 1 in a million, how it broke everything, essentially. So let's get into it. May of 2021, I graduated. I got a bachelor's in anthropology, concentration in disaster displacement and human rights, and a minor in sociology. I'm saying all that because UT is cheap, and they didn't print that on my paper, but whatever. And I had plans to take a gap year to build up my resume, work on my writing skills, and then apply to grad schools in the fall, winter, and leave for grad school the next year. That was my plan, but I wanted to spend the summer just like having fun. I was double vaccinated, all of my friends were vaccinated, and this was kind of like the first time since COVID that it was safe to like go outside and do things. I was super excited. Didn't have school. We was outside, our toes were out, I was at the pool, we were doing all this stuff. And it felt really good. It was really fun. Especially coming off of like a year of doing jack shit in the house because of COVID. And I had also had some like mental health things that I was dealing with. So it felt good. I was living life the way I guess I was 22 at the time. A 22-year-old is supposed to live life. Was I 22? Yeah, I was 22. And it was great. I was hanging out with friends more. I was having fun. I was tan. Unintentionally, I was tan. I was getting my health together. It was great. And one of the things I wanted to do was do things that I don't really like say yes more often. And so that's what I did this summer. July 6th, 2021 was the day that I hit my head. That day, I had a really busy day. I had gone to an eye doctor appointment that morning, and then I volunteered at the Cat Cafe, the Scruffy's Cafe, because me and my dad would do that every Tuesday. I would volunteer, hang out with the kitties for 2 hours, and then I went to physical therapy, and it was like my last day of physical therapy, and it was a good day. And then I had like just a break, whatever, and then at 7:30 that night, I was gonna go over. So my boyfriend plays Dungeons and Dragons. I don't know why, but he does. It's his thing. And he was DMing a group, and I was friends with a lot of people in that group. And I kind of got like a little bit of FOMO by not being part of this thing. I did not want to play Dungeons and Dragons. That is not my gig, not for me. But I still want to like, be around friends or whatever. And so one of my friends that was playing, their boyfriend Ren, or not their boyfriend Ren, Ren's boyfriend Spencer. Can't believe I messed that up. He didn't play D&D either, and I'm like thrown off from that. All right, let's get it together. He didn't play D&D either. That wasn't his thing either. And he played chess, and for some reason I just want to learn how to play chess. Like, what else am I gonna do? I'll learn how to play chess. And so we made a plan that while they're playing D&D, all these people are playing D&D, me and Spencer would play chess. He'd try to teach me how to play chess. So that's exactly what happened. We show up to the 303 flats, and we play chess, and they're playing D&D, and it's like a really fun time. Me and Spencer had to do a Publix run, and we talked about the Olympics, because I love the Olympics, and I was so excited for it. And so we're talking about all this Olympic stuff, and and then we play chess, and I'm not good at chess, but I'm having fun learning. And then, like I said, we got there like 7:30-ish, and by like 11:30, I was tired. I I wanted to go home. I was sleepy. I had had like a really long day with like appointments and volunteering, and I just want to go to sleep. You know, you can only play chess for so long. And Spencer was kind of under that same idea, and so he lived like pretty close to the 303 flat. So he was like, you know what, I'm just gonna go home, and then whenever it runs done, I'll come pick him up. Cool. And so I decided to head down with him, and I was gonna go home and just go to sleep. So I have to describe to you the parking lot of 303 Flats. I'm sure you know, but like just in case you don't. The parking lot is very small. For like guests, the parking lot is small. There is like a parking garage that connects to the building for residents, but there's maybe like 20 parking spaces for guests, something like that. And it's in like a small area. There's only one entrance and one exit to the parking lot. This is important, I promise. Excuse me. And Nala's running around. So I was parked closer towards, not like super close to the entrance, but closer towards the entrance. And then Spencer was maybe like 4 or 5 cars like next to me in this thing, right? Now, this is very important. We walk to the sidewalk, and from the sidewalk of 33 Flats to the cars is like 20 feet, if that. It was very short. And again, me and Spencer, our cars were very close together. He could see my car from his car. I couldn't because I had like a little car. But it was very close. And he said, do you want me to walk you to your car? And I was like, no, it's right here. It's really close. I'll be fine. Have a good night. I'll see you. I don't know if we have plans to do something, but I was like, I'll see you later. Now, in the time between the sidewalk and my car, I started to get anxiety because it is very late at night. I'd never been to 303 Flats before, and so I was in an area that I didn't know, I was unfamiliar with, and it was dark. The parking lot wasn't well lit, even though it was small, and so I just got nervous. I am a female. I think I'm pretty. I am a female. I'm younger, and those are just like things in the world that kind of are against you whenever you're walking alone at night. And I was just nervous about it. And so I was really nervous about getting in my car because I didn't want anything to happen. There was no one around. I cannot express this. There was no one else around except for Spencer getting into his car. So I walk very quickly to my car because I felt anxious and unsafe. So I am speed running to my car. And then as I'm about to reach my car, I think, oh, do you remember hearing those stories about guys that like hide underneath your car, hide underneath the girl's car so they can slash their ACL so they can't run away? And my brain was like, oh my God, that is terrifying. That's a real danger. So then I was scared that there was someone hiding underneath my car to slash my ACL. So what ends up happening is I'm going very, very fast. I'm not running, but like I'm moving very quickly. And I'm terrified of getting my ACLs slashed underneath my car. So I do this like side lunge of getting into my car. And as I do the side lunge, I'm once again moving very quickly. I slam my head into the side of my car. Very, very, very hard. And I hop in my car and I'm like, I go, ow! And like I hold my head and I hop in my car. And I sit there for a moment and I immediately had headache, blurry vision, nausea, ringing in ears, dizziness, like immediately had all of those symptoms. And I sat there for a second. I'm like, this hurts. Like, ow, I can't believe I just did that. Wow. I'm feeling all these symptoms. But then in my brain, I was like, I need to get out of the parking lot because I don't want Spencer to worry about me. So I have blurry vision, I'm dizzy, I'm nauseous, I have ringing in my ear, my head really hurts, I'm kind of disoriented, but I was like, I need to kiss, I don't want Spencer to worry about me. So I drive off, like in this state. I'm holding my head, I'm like, ow. But I'm also not super concerned because I've hit my head before, I've had concussions before. It's not that big of a deal. I was a majorette, I've had metal sticks thrown at my head, like, not that big of a deal. You hit your head getting into your car, so I just thought that's what it was. So as I'm about to like pull out, I sent a text to my dad and I said, hey, just to let you know, I just hit my head really hard. I think I'm fine, but just to have it on record and documented, I just hit my head. He didn't respond, he was asleep. This was like I said, 11:30-ish at night. And so I drive home with blurry vision and nausea and ringing in my ear and all the things was not safe. I should not have done that. I recognize that now. But at the time, I didn't think it was a big deal. So I get home, maybe like 11:45, and it doesn't take me long to get home. And so when I come home, I immediately take Tylenol because I'm like, I'm gonna have a headache. That's just what's gonna happen. So I take Tylenol, and then I like lay in bed, and I'm like, okay, I know with a concussion that if you have a concussion, you're supposed to stay awake for as long as you can, or else it can be bad. So I was like, well, let me just like stay up as long as I can, and then I'll fall asleep, set an alarm, wake myself up. So I ended up staying awake until maybe like 2:30 in the morning. And I still, like, I had all of the symptoms still. They weren't going away, but like they were kind of lessening a little bit. I don't know. I wasn't sure if I still had the blurry vision or not. Like I couldn't really tell. So 2:30 hit, and I was like, you know what? I'm really tired. I'm just gonna try. So I set an alarm for 4 a.m. I was like, I'm gonna wake up at 4 a.m. and check myself, make sure I'm awake and all this stuff. So I fall asleep. Now I fall asleep with my lights on and my glasses on. You know, you just that's what I did. And then my alarm went off an hour and a half later at 4 a.m. And I wake up, I'm like, oh, I feel fine. I feel perfect. I feel exactly how I was before. Cool, great. So I take off my glasses, I shut off my light, and I roll over, going back to bed. Well, as soon as I did that, I instantly became incredibly nauseous. And I got this weird feeling, this like pain in the back of my head and on the side of my head. It was also kind of like numb and tingling. And I got super, super nauseous, and I got so sweaty, and I was like, oh no, I don't feel good. And I was like, am I gonna throw up? I'm not sure. So I turn the light and I walk to my bathroom. Now, the distance between my bed and my toilet is like 6 feet, 7 feet. It's close to where I am. And I almost pass out walking from the bed to the bathroom. Whenever I get there, I like sit. For some reason I sat on the toilet even though I had to throw up. I don't know. I didn't know I was brain injured at this point, but I was brain injured. And so I sit down and I'm like in and out of consciousness. I'm blacking out. I'm like heaving into the floor. I'm so sweating. I can't like put a thought together. And I'm like, oh no, this is bad. So I called my dad at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, I can't really get words out. I'm just like, I hit my head and now I'm passing out and throwing up. And he's like, okay, I'll be right there. And so he's coming over, and I didn't know what was happening. I just knew I felt horrible. And it was not good that I felt like this. And so I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay, I need to somehow like get myself together. Because one, I had to put on pants. I didn't have pants on. And two, my dad did not have a key to my house at this point. So I had to walk from where I was to the front door to open the front door. Now, I'm losing consciousness sitting in the bathroom. So how am I gonna walk? Well, what I ended up, I took like, from my room to the front door is not that long. Like, I don't know, I live in like a fucking mansion. But it was very long for when you can't stand up and move properly. So I would take breaks. I'd like take 3 steps and then like fall, and then like stay, and then take 3 steps and then fall. And eventually I got to the door, I unlocked it, and then I came back and crashed on the couch and just waited for him. And I have a puke bucket. I have a designated puke bucket because I get sick sometimes, and I grabbed her, and I was sitting on the couch with this, and my dad comes in. My dad gets here at like 4:10. Now, my dad lives about 12 minutes away from me, and he got here in 10 minutes. So this bitch was speeding. And I tell him like I hit my head at about 11:30, and you know, now I'm feeling all this stuff, and you know, whatever. And he's like, well, what do you think we should do? I was like, that's why I called you. I don't know. And he said, I think we need to take you to the emergency room. I was like, do we really? Like, do we really have to go to the emergency room? And he's like, I think we should. I was like, fine. And at this point, David was still awake because he's awake at that hour most of the time. And I sent him a text message saying, hey, I'm going to the emergency room, bye. And he's like, what? Like, what's happening? And I explained the situation. He's like, okay, well, let me know what happens. I didn't want him to come with me because there was literally no point. And so we go to the emergency room. Now, my dad's not thinking, and I live in like East Knoxville, right? Close to Fountain City. He takes me to the Tenova Emergency Clinic on Emory Road in Powell. Don't know why, he just does. And this bitch speeding. He's running red lights, he's running stop signs, he's like going 80 miles an hour. My dad does not drive like that, so he was in a hurry. So we get there at like 4:30 is when we get to the hospital. So in the 20 minutes that he got here, you know, we were moving pretty fast. And so we get to the hospital and we get checked in, and I tell them what happened, and I tell them the time roughly and my symptoms, what I'm feeling, and they can obviously tell that I'm nauseous because I have my bucket and I'm just like, oh, like I'm huddled over it. And I tell them my blurry vision, my ringing in my ear, you know, all this stuff. And so they're like, okay, we need to do a CT scan to make sure there's not a bleed or anything like that. I'm like, true, okay, cool. But they were like, in July of 2021, COVID wasn't bad. I mean, it was still happening, but the numbers were getting better. And so hospitals were just at normal, like, oh my God, there's a lot of people who had like heart attacks and broken feet and whatever. So there wasn't really like a fear about that, but they were still really busy and they didn't have any beds available. And so I was like in a waiting room, and there were 2 chairs on like each side of on like each wall, and there's a number above the chair, and that was my bed. We need to give more money to hospitals, but whatever. And so they come and they get me, and I do the CT scan, almost throw up while I'm getting the CT scan, and then we just have to like wait for them to read it and tell me what it is. They give me a nausea medicine in the meantime. It didn't help, but alas. And they come back and they say, your CT scan's fine. They're like, you don't have a break, you don't have a break, you don't have hemorrhaging, you don't have any bleeds, it looks fine. And like, you just have a really nasty concussion. You just hit your head really hard. I was like, I did, didn't I? But that's good. And they're like, what you need to do is you need to spend 24 to 48 hours with absolutely no stimulation, no light, no sound. Just sit in a dark room, let your head rest, sleep as much as you can, and go see your primary care in a few days and check up, but like, you should be fine. I was like, cool. I didn't really do that much damage. Awesome. So that's exactly what happens. And as we're like leaving, and they said if anything gets worse, or if you start hallucinating or anything, like, come back. Don't wait, you need to come back. So I was like, okay. And as we're like driving out of the parking lot, there's a stop sign that's upside down. And I look at it, and I look at my dad, I'm like, is that stop sign upside down to you? And he starts laughing. He's like, yeah, but I should have told you it wasn't to freak you out. And I was like, well, then we're at the hospital, we might just turn around. But I remember that stop sign. So then we go home. We get home by like 7:30. We were not in the hospital that long. Or we have like 7. It's like 2.5 hours in the hospital. Not that bad. We're in the emergency room. And I sleep. And I sleep, and I sleep, and I sleep, and I sleep, and I sleep. That ends up happening. And so we made an appointment with my primary care for like a few days later. This happened on a Tuesday. I think we made the appointment for like a Thursday or something. I don't know. And all I did between the hospital and the appointment was sleep. That's all I did. And then we go to the appointment. And at this point, I'm like, everything just feels kind of sore, if that makes sense. Everything's like a little tender. I'm not super light and sound sensitive, but it's there can be too much light and sound. It wasn't painful, it was just like it's kind of a lot. And so I get in the car, I put on sunglasses, like these have like little clips, and I just clip it on. I put on my sunglasses just in case, just to be protective, and I had earplugs with me just in case. Didn't really need them. And I go and I talk to a nurse practitioner, and this is important, I'm not dissing nurse practitioners, but this is important. I go talk to a nurse practitioner and I tell her everything and what the hospital said and whatever. And she's like, yeah, it seems like you just hit it really hard. You have a nasty concussion. And she's like, does your neck hurt or anything? And at this point, my neck had started hurting. And that can be a sign that there is a bleed, but because they didn't catch a bleed on the CT scan, she was like, okay, well, here's some muscle relaxers. You probably just like messed up those muscles. I was like, cool. And I was like, so I'm supposed to go to DC in 2 weeks. Me and David were gonna go on a trip to DC. And I was like, do you think I'm gonna be fine? And she's like, oh yeah, you should be fine. Like, you should be good by the end of the weekend. Slowly start introducing stimulation, and then you'll be good to go. Sick. Cool. Sounds good. Go home with all that information, and we slowly start introducing stimulation. And I watched an episode of The Sopranos, because I was watching at the time. If you hear Nala eating, she's hungry. Deal with it. And The Sopranos kind of made me really tired, and it like kind of I don't know how to explain it, but it like just made my brain feel tired. I was like, oh, maybe not do this. I watched like an entire episode of Sopranos. I was like, I don't know if I need to do this. So I continued to sleep. All I did was sleep this entire time. And it wasn't necessarily because I was tired, it's just my brain needed to shut off as much as it could. So we're just going about our life, waiting for me to get better. I'm introducing stimulation, but like it's kind of uncomfortable. And like I don't feel good whenever I go, but there's not like pain or anything. And then one night, this is like getting long, but whatever, I'm gonna keep going. One night, I wake up, there's people staying the night and helping me because I can't do anything, whatever. I wake up in the middle of the night and I have intense pain in my head. And it's not just in the spot where I hit my head, it is like on this side, and it's like in my eye, in my eyebrow. It feels like if you took an ice pick and shoved it through my eye all the way to the back. It was just that intense, constant pain. And then the back of my head was like numb and tingly. And I once again started going in and out of consciousness and throwing up everywhere. And it was this whole thing. And so the next day, my dad was like, well, we need to take you back to your doctor. I was like, cool. And that happened in the middle of the night, and then I went back to sleep, hoping that it would be better when I woke up, was not better. It was still really, really painful. It was like the most pain at that point I had ever felt. And just hurt, nothing would help it. Just, again, the ice pick. And so he makes an appointment, and we go. Now, I have to take a shower before I go, because I'm kind of stinky. And that shower fucking hurt, because my head hurts. No, it distracted me. And because my eye, like my head, everything is so sore, it hurts to touch. Like washing my hair was like, oh, it was so bad. Now, this time, when I go outside and get in the car, I am incredibly, incredibly light sensitive. Now, this is the middle of July, so like it's bright, all right, and it's hot. And I had a blindfold, but the blindfold didn't block out all of the light, and I needed all of the light blocked out. So what I did was I had on my blindfold, and I have this like cashmere scarf that I got from England, and I wrap it around my head, like around my eyes. I looked really crazy, and I like tucked it in, and that's how I like completely blocked out the light. And I looked crazy, and I was sweating profusely through that scarf because it's fucking hot. It's July, and I have a cashmere scarf around my head. So we drive, and I'm blindfolded as we're driving, and the car is making me so sick. I'm so motion sick. I'm so nauseous. And then we get to the doctor, and I still can't open my eyes because it hurts. And so my dad has to walk me through like the parking garage into the building, whatever. And you just leading someone, I've never like not had my eyes before, so I didn't know how to like be led into it. But it was this whole crazy fiasco. And then we sit down in the waiting room, and like I can't see anyone, but I can feel everyone staring at me like, what the fuck is she doing? And I get led into the room, and they shut off the light, which was heaven. And I see the physician's assistant. And I like her, I've seen her before, and I tell her everything that happened, and I was like, hell, it hurts really bad. And she's like, well, I think you're having post-concussion migraines. These can last anywhere from like 2 weeks to 6 weeks after you hit your head. And I was like, 6 weeks of this? And she's like, no, you'll be okay. Little I knew. And so she says you can take as needed migraine medication. I had one because I kind of had migraines, but I fixed the problem that was causing my migraines, so I didn't have them anymore. And so she says you can take that, I'll write you another prescription, and also while you're here, I'll give you like an injection of an anti-inflammatory. And so she did that and do shit. And then she said you need to start introducing stimulation into your brain. I was like, I know, but it hurts. And there was her nurse, hold on, I forgot about this. Her nurse, like when she was like taking the information before the doctor came in, she asked what happened, and I told her, and she goes, you know there's better ways to get attention. Whore, you think I'm doing this on purpose? That pissed me off so much. But anyway, get the injection, go home. It was miserable, like the car ride and everything. And then I take the medicine that she told me to take, and it worked. It got rid of the pain. And at this point, I had been in pain for like 16 hours or so. So I was like, my body was dead, but he was tired. And I remember David came by that day, and because we told him that like something crazy was happening, we might have to go to the ER. We didn't know what was gonna happen, and David came by, and I was like laying there just like tired, and I felt dead. And he goes, "I can't believe this is happening. Like, is this really like getting worse? Like, what's happening?" My dad was like, "I don't know. This is just what happened." And we were all kind of surprised. We were all kind of stunned. Well, I only have one more aspect, and then I'll stop it because I'm getting tired, and then I'll finish it. But I live my life, what I'm doing, whatever. And then, no, can you? She's playing with the tablecloth. And then I'm having like cognitive problems, sorry. So I hit my head, and then that same week I saw the nurse practitioner. The next week I saw the physician's assistant. The week after that, I had to go back to the doctor because I kept waking up in the middle of the night with intense pain. Oh, at the appointment with the physician's assistant, she said that, she's like, "Did the nausea medicine help you when you were throwing up?" I was like, "No, I still threw up." She's like, "Okay, let me give you a stronger one." And boy, this one gets rid of the nausea, but it's like Benadryl. You can't be doctors if you're asleep. That's exactly what happens. And so I was waking up in the middle of the night, and almost every single night I would wake up, have an episode of extreme pain and vomiting, and like it was so bad. It was like really, really intense. The ice pick, it was incredible amount of pain and so much nausea and vomiting, and every day was horrible. And I could not handle light at all. I couldn't handle a tiny sliver of light, so we blocked out all of the windows, and I was seemingly getting worse. And it was getting more and more painful. I thought that like the first time when I went and I had the scarf around my head, I thought that was the most pain that I was gonna feel. No, it kept getting worse every single day. And we didn't know what to do because we were told that it was gonna be fine. And at this point, we realized I can't go to DC. So we canceled the DC trip. I was kind of bummed, but I was like, maybe during fall break. That didn't happen. And so we're like, my dad's like, we need to take you back because this is insane. You're just getting worse. I was like, I know I'm getting worse. Also, during this point, I'm just listening to podcasts and I'm just listening to audiobooks because I can't look at anything. I can't have any light or whatever. So I start doing that. And I go to the doctor. So I saw his nurse practitioner, I saw his physician assistant, and then I saw him. And I tell him everything, and he's like, "I think you're fine. I don't think this is related to your concussion at all. I think you're just having migraines. And I think you just need to like deal with them." And I'm like, "How? What do you mean this isn't from my concussion? Like, I hit my head 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, whatever it is at this point, and I'm like dealing with all of this stuff, and you're trying to tell me it's not from my concussion?" He's like, "No, you should be fine from the concussion. You should be over it by now." And I was like, "What the fuck?" He's like, "Well, what happened when you had migraines last time?" I was like, "Well, it had to do with my eyes, my vision. My eyes weren't working together. They were working against each other, and that was causing migraine." He's like, "Well, I mean, I guess you should maybe just revisit your optometrist and talk to him because like you're on the concussion side, you're fine." I was like, "I'm not fine." But I was like, "Okay, whatever." And so I decided to contact, and I also couldn't walk because and at this appointment, I had to be blindfolded as well. And I couldn't walk straight. I needed help doing everything. I couldn't use my body. I couldn't use my head. I couldn't use my eyes. Like, I couldn't have a conversation longer than 15 minutes without getting like an intense pain and just like really confused. Kind of what's starting to happen now at 30 minutes. But so when we get out of the doctor, I call my optometrist, who is my great uncle. I know him. So I'm like, "Yo, this happened. Help." And he's like, "Well, come in on I guess I went on like a Monday to my doctor, and then I was gonna go on Thursday to my optometrist and talk to him. That's where I'm gonna end this story because I'm tired. My brain hurts, my head hurts, and I'm having a hard time like thinking of words. That's where I'm gonna end the story, but that's how I hit my head. That is the accident. That is what led up to it. That is the actual incident. And what happened in a few weeks later, when I pick up, is when we're going to find out this turned into a final destination, and how this turned into a year-long brain injury recovery, maybe more than a year long at this point. some people were like questioning the validity of my story. Like whenever it happened, some family members were like, is that actually what happened? I promise on Nala, where'd she go? She's right here. I promise on everything that that is the actual story. And as we'll find out, the punishment does not match the crime at all. And it's super crazy that this happened. It's a freak accident, but like that's what happened. I hit my head getting into my car because I was nervous and I was anxious, and that's just it. I wish there was something more exciting, but there's not, unfortunately. It's just kind of boring. It's that. But for all you nosies, there you go. And for all you nosies who want the part 2, I'll give you the part 2. Part 2 is where I get kind of emotional because this is kind of where my life changed, essentially. I didn't know my life changed at this point, but after that optometry appointment, that's when everything changed. So, all right, I gotta lay down. I gotta take a nap. This is a lot. I will see you in part 2.